The Zhiyun Weebill 3. Is this the best travel gimbal ever made? Well, the Weebill 3 is tiny, it's strong, it charges by USB-C, and it only weighs a kilo. With that being said though, this does struggle with larger camera setups and heavier camera setups. It's got the most awkwardly placed power button in the world, and if you don't have this tiny little grip on there, you will be turning your gimbal off all the time. And it's also got this very awkwardly placed roll wheel right here that if you're holding the gimbal whatsoever, just like normal, you will be touching the roll wheel, which will mean you'll be rolling your shots. I just wanted to get them quickly out of the way to make sure you understand what this gimbal is about. It is not a one-trick pony, it's not a one and done thing, but for me, this is the only gimbal I use, it's the only gimbal I own, and it's the only gimbal I would have ever purchased. Just a heads up, Zhiyun has sent me this gimbal. This is in no way, shape, or form a sponsored video. They don't even know this video is being made, so I can give my 100% honest thoughts and give a good, solid review when it comes to the Weebill 3. All right, let's dive in. Okay, first of all, let's cover the size and weight of this thing. To be completely honest, I would not own this gimbal if it was any bigger or any heavier. A big bulky gimbal is usually the first thing I will cut when I need to reduce my size and weight of my camera bag, so it goes nearly 99% of the time. And I'll let you in on a little secret here. I've actually not used a gimbal for the past 3 years. So the Weebill 3 is the first gimbal I've used in quite a while, and I'm actually pretty impressed. With weighing just over a kilo, this does not add a whole lot of weight to my bag at all. And the best thing about this, without a doubt, is it actually fits inside of my bag. Now this is pretty rare, don't get me wrong, especially because you can't unpack this or break it down whatsoever. Purely just by unlocking the motors, I can get this to fit in the bottom of my bag, and that is why it's starting to come with me everywhere. I don't have to think about carrying something extra, strapping it to the back of my bag, or whatever the case, just to get my gimbal from A to B. It purely just fits in with everything else, and we're good to go. So with that being said, if size and weight is a huge contributing factor to whether you buy or you don't buy a gimbal, and you're currently in the market for one, please check the Weebill 3 out. This thing is really impressive. All right, so next up, let's talk about the actual usability of this. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of small gimbals exist, and I've used a handful of them in the past, but a lot of small gimbals suck. About 3 months ago, I had a good friend of mine, Luca, come out here and we shot a whole bunch of stuff together. I didn't have this yet, it wasn't even out, and we were shooting on his Ronin SC. Now, my Canon R6 with the 24-70 could not fit on that whatsoever. We tried balancing it, we tried resetting absolutely everything. Whatever we could do, we were in a bit of a pinch, and the shots we got from that were pretty much useless. So when Zhiyun reached out and wanted to send me one of these, I definitely had my reservations. I checked out the spec sheet they sent over, and it turns out my R6 with my 24-70 could fit on, so I rolled the dice and said yes. The Canon R6 with the 24-70 isn't a huge setup by any means, but it's still fairly heavy. It's the heaviest camera setup that I have, so I haven't been able to put anything heavier on this gimbal, but it has never had an issue with this setup whatsoever. The only thing is that to get this setup balancing correctly, you do have to put the camera quite far back on the little sled, which means if you go into underslung mode or you do go past the little eyepiece, it does catch on the back, which is a little bit of an issue, but if you kind of just tuck it in as you're moving the gimbal up, everything goes away and you're good to go. I found when you're shooting with other smaller gimbals, the most annoying thing is when the gimbal just kind of gives up and that's it. It just lets the camera go and it goes all limp. This is something that I haven't experienced with the Weebill 3, and to be fair, I'm pretty shocked. I've also got this gimbal pretty wet. Now don't get me wrong, in no way, shape or form is this on paper waterproofed or water resistant in any way. I got caught out in the rain on my first shoot with this thing and it got pretty soaked. So I was a little bit worried with the water getting into the motors, but it's still working perfectly fine. This happened about a month ago and I've had no issues whatsoever. By all means, avoid getting your gimbal wet as best as you can, but do keep in mind that these things can take a bit of a beating. Okay, so the Weebill 3 also comes with a handful of extra features. Most notably, there is a light on the front here, and there's also a microphone. Now with that being said, at face value, this actually seems pretty cool. To have a light built into your gimbal and to have a mic built into your gimbal, man, that sounds super handy. But I'll be honest, I haven't used either of them once, and I also don't know how to turn the light on. With that being said though, I also haven't needed to use these at all. See, if I want to record audio, I'll just put my shotgun mic on the top of my camera and record audio. I think I'm gonna let the gimbal do what it does best and let my microphone do what it does best. I also don't shoot in super dark conditions whatsoever, so the light is a little bit useless here. But if you were shooting in very dark conditions, or maybe in a club or a festival environment, I could see the light becoming very practical and actually a really good feature. With that being said though, I have spent a little bit of time in the menus, and whether it's just me not being able to find it or whether it is hidden to a degree, I have no idea how to turn this on or even how the audio recording works whatsoever. I also have no idea of the audio quality that comes from this, but like I said, I think I'm going to let the gimbal do what it's good at and my microphone do what it's good at. I probably wouldn't advise someone to buy a gimbal just because it's got a little light and a little microphone on the front of it, but if these are things that you need and your camera setup fits on the Weebill 3, this is a very good option for you. While I carry this gimbal everywhere I go and it does an exceptional job whenever I use it, I also find myself not using it that often. See, I'm a big lover of shooting handheld. I love the feeling, I love the workflow, I love the shot that comes out of it, and I love the control you can have when you're actually shooting. Gimbals are great at what they do, and in my opinion, I'm only using a gimbal when I'm doing running shots, driving shots, or any shots where I'm covering a large amount of ground. They're great for smoothing out footsteps, being able to run, being able to jump on the back of a bike and shoot someone moving. This is when gimbals are amazing. But to be honest, like I said, when I'm shooting 90% of my B-roll, it's done handheld. But when you can't get the shot handheld, this gimbal is where it's at. The fact that it's so small, it's tiny, it fits in my bag, it weighs just over a kilo, and it supports all my cameras with any of my lenses on them in any configuration, this makes it the perfect gimbal for me. It also makes it the perfect travel gimbal as it's not getting in the way all the time, which makes the workflow of using a gimbal so much better. And with that being said, guys, that is going to wrap up my review of the Zhiyun Weebill 3. I hope this video has been able to help you make up your mind whether you should buy one or whether you shouldn't buy one or whether you need a gimbal at all. But thank you so much for watching. If you're new around here, a subscribe would be amazing. If you enjoyed today's video, leave a like and a comment down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.